We good? Our season this year. As we see the captains coming out here to the mat, and maybe it goes to the favored team, but in this rivalry and a lot of the rivalries here in the Lehigh Valley area, you cannot predict the beginning of the match. A very well coached Del Valle team, I'm sure. Andy Fitz is amazing, and the streets are on a tear. Very well coached because you have business couple of weeks ago.
I'm not going to age us a little bit with what we're doing, but
I think I already did that with you 32 years ago, but yeah.
we had a lot of guys who were 106, when you start, and the big guys always waited. Now with the flip, you get some of the big guys having to get out there and be ready and set the pace.
I don't know how I feel about it. Quite honestly, it was the small, like you said, small guys went out there and they're so fast and nimble, and then worked up to that heavyweight bout. I know for us personally, in our big state championship bouts, that meant Kermit Hartman and Greg Troxel, which was an amazing way to finish. Although Kermit may not say that 100% of the time, but yeah, it's a
Tell you what, that's one of these things with Ryan Golka. His brother was on the team a couple of years ago. His other brothers here, they were new to the sport, but they're and they're quick. So you
It's evident, that's for sure. I know the adrenaline's pumping, so you got to throw your back, going through his back, fall, but he needs to settle in a little bit and in the period.
I know some of these guys. Obviously, you're out here, you hear the fans. You're out there. Takes defense to start here.
See what Gauss doing on top here. These two heavier guys actually move like heavyweights. They're big guys.
But some big guys, one of those big guys who are doing
That much athletic ability.
basically my go-to move was throw and then order 2 meals for dinner.
I could tell you some stories about Coach Reynolds and not allowing me to eat. That's for sure.
Frank is one of our sponsors. Is Wonderful from Champion Athletes, and he does nutrition and meal plans. He has like a staff and everybody, and then put it on trash bags and running around there like trying to work. It's 2 bad points right now.
He's working on a major here in the end of the second period.
He'd love to wants to, get some of those points. Because Del Valle is very tough in the lower weights.
Yeah, we've got to Reynolds need to pack on as many points as they can. He certainly doesn't want to finish this up.
So those two start. There was him major at this point. Basically, the goal of Snyder here now is to get some points and basically make it a regular decision.
It gave him a little bit of a cushion.
We're also trying to get another tilt here, obviously.
Really, it is with the cause of additional points to get to tech.
Like you said earlier, those points mean a lot, especially when you get down. You win and lose a match like that. Those was Doug right there.
And you know, I was talking to Coach Fitz about that match just tonight, and how exciting it was to, you know, to be a part of those kids. That match could be, uh, you know, for them, we're not remember for them for, you know, 32 years from now. Talking about how exciting it was, but I guess the last part of the night, the dugout kids through sensitivity was called the fall, but it was a few seconds after the buzzer had gone off, because it was still loud inside the gym. They took it back, but it's just excitement. So Patrick can't get up and play here, but the majors have to do enough to survive here without giving up. One has we got Derek coming through, so Jared's father was a teammate of mine in elementary school and I think middle school as well. And then he just decided to dedicate himself to football as an outstanding running back here at Warren Hills. Ronald Pantuso graduated in 1990, and they he and Jared could be twins and identical. It's crazy.
And Jared's cousin's actually at Belvedere.
Oh, is that right?
He's the heavyweight at Belvedere. It was funny because when I do the preview videos, I went over there and I was like, Pantusa. And he goes, yeah, Jared's my brother. I mean, I hope it was a brother because then there's a whole situation. You probably one chose one and the other.
Down. Right, but Jared's going to open it up a little bit for score some points. Of course, this is really what they're going to do. Heading into the second period, try to keep the scoring to a minimum.
And Pantuso's state medalist last year, so obviously they want to keep it close with him.
Yeah, it's a win if they can keep it close. No major. Four zero, 20 seconds into the second. course, I'll continue to date myself, but you know, when I was I was in my 4 years here at Horn Hills in this rivalry. Held out had Jamie Wicks, 2-ton state champ. That was just an absolute beast, and you know, the guy I was just in awe of. You know, um, Billy Ashenbach, the lighter weights, both state place winners. And they had a guy, Mark Cyphers, who continued to beat a lot of the top wrestlers. Daryl Dietrich just didn't have an answer for him, and Marco didn't. I don't believe he came out his senior year, and that really could have helped Del Val back then. But just an amazing amount of talent on the Del Val team over the years. Multiple state champs and place winners, and it's a great program. And this dual meet is really and exciting, and that the student body certainly gets excited for it on a annual basis. Got a stalling call on Del Val. Got to get his head off the mat. Got to move a little bit. And Cuso needs to get out to the side and try to use some turn moves. Behind me walked in a boisterous former Warren Hills heavyweight, Carmel Hartman, back to Warren Hills to check out the Warren Hills Delaware match. Of course, waiting for heavyweights to roll around.
Oh yeah, of course. The heavyweights coming out. They're ready to bang.
We had Kermit behind us chirping.
He was actually on the phone today with Father Brian over when they were there. I stopped by to see it, and he's like, "Oh, you talking to Kermit before?" So Kermit was giving him the business.
Getting the business. Kermit's good at that. It's in the third. They actually did a very nice job in this bout, keeping it to. Francisco plays eighth in the last year. I was another one of those last year.
The 10 score is 7-0. We're just trying to work on track, getting it all set up.
Fairly quick takedown. You've seen the engines on these lightweights. They seem never to tire.
Giving my stellar commentary on a three-man time showing for three people.
And he's handicapped having me on the side.
Throwing some big words.
This route has produced at least one million hills during my span in high school for Baig outpost. Pastor Kiewitz won a state title at 103 back then, and then and Doug Dietrich for Warren Hills. So during that, basically during that my 4-year period, each team had a state champion. They also had a different. Doug Dietrich came in, basically then bookend state champion.
Actually, if you look at some of these streets, I went to school with a lot of their parents. I went to school with 10 years.
Went to school with Corey Lee, so the Lee boys' father.
Yeah.
Dad Pan Tusser's father. Chris Coleman's daughter was on the girls' team. Chris was one of my teammates.
She was just out here wrestling before Katrina.
Yep. And I've got a little club back in Lancaster and Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where I live now.
There you go.
You got to attack that immediately upon hitting the floor. And we had fortunate to have Adidas come in to do their photo shoot for their calendar, their catalog. Katrina to shoot. This is great. County and some of the wrestlers with we've got a school outside secured. actually keep talking just to make sure. Warren Hill's up 4-1 right now. Not doing much on top other than parallel. Right now, physically escape to work on his feet. 4-2. They get a bit closer in on shot, up in the leg. But this one, he's trying to keep him just off the bat.
I think we are back on with the audio. Am I correct?
Going to see here. I've been doing a little experiment texting with actually a former Delaware wrestler, Billy Aschenbach, who I met in this rivalry my freshman year. Billy was a senior, a junior. I'm sorry. In about, I think it was 59 seconds. If I wasn't bad enough, maybe the front page of the Eastern Express in color with Billy to me, and really, basically, just stop. So what I did is I turned it upside down and put it in the inside of my locker, so I looked like I was pushing him down the pin him. But that was probably one of the worst blowouts in this rivalries, 59-15, some terrible score like that. But I do know Billy Aschenbach is up near Boston now. He's a scientist. They call him Dr. Aschenbach now, and he's watching the stream tonight.
That's actually a great name for something like that. That'd be a great pro wrestling name, like Aschenbach.
Yes, but if you remember Billy, he would have been a great WWE personality, that's for sure. He was trying to give me some one-liners on the way down here. I was talking to him about doing this, but none of them were properly rated for me to use. So
There's different times, different times.
Both of these teams, regardless of the outcome of this dual meet, will be competing in the sectional team tournament and moving on to work to capture a team title.
Yeah, this year's a little different. The way they've set it up, because last year, with the way the NFL added an extra week to their season, it came back and is actually the weekend when group championships are supposed to be. So this year, instead of there being a match on Monday, a match on Wednesday, and a match on Friday to crown a sectional champion, 4 teams are going to meet at the higher seed. So, for example, Warren Hills is going to host the 8th seed and also have the 4-5 match. And then later that night, the winners will meet and advance to the sectional final on Wednesday. So there'll be a sectional final champion on Wednesday. Then the winners of that will advance to the semifinals of groups. And then the finalists will advance Sunday, and they're only going to have the group finals, not be both like they've had.
So that everyone can be home for the Super Bowl.
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. You don't want to compete with that. There are certain things you don't compete with.
Yeah.
I think we have the audio fixed.
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool. I'm looking a little choppy. I think it's from the mic, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it might be on the wrong thing and catching darking, but we'll see. We should be good. About 10 seconds left this match.
Warren Hills leads 5-2 with a team score of 16-0. Sloppy shot there by
I'm not actually one of the main people on the team, so, you're always going to be one of the ones they want to knock off. Trying to get another kid here, trying to get you're in great condition here. It's one hill that's kind of really down here at the beginning.
Really stepped on a few back points in a row there. A really nice tilt. I'm not sure if we lost some of the video for a moment there or audio. At the 120-pound bow. Cornhill's up 19-0 at this point.
That's out, folks. My tech guy had to go back to school.
Yes, I know many appreciate what you do, Donna. Cornhill's at
Wound up actually making the final, so it's really good matchup between those two. One thing about down here too, when we talked about knowing people, and you were saying with your club and everything, how do these guys go to the tournament? I don't remember when I was, younger. I know you were my same age. We didn't have a ton of clubs. If you go work out, you'd practice, but there wasn't such a thing as clubs in a sense. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there was a few, but it wasn't as many as you see nowadays.
right. So we had, and I graduated in '90, and Bobby Weaver just started. Literally, I think I was probably my sophomore junior year. He started with a small studio, a mat above a flooring store in Easton, and it was myself and two of my other teammates would go there, but he wasn't taking us to tournaments, and he wasn't taking us to, there wasn't that wasn't happening. It was just literally, like you said, basically a practice at another facility. Of course, you were practicing with an Olympic champ, so that's
Yeah, we were on top of that technique, but now it's like almost like the season is no longer just a, from November to March type situation. It's like you have people doing different styles and they're all around.
right.
It's it's just kind of one of those things. You almost don't know because I was a three-sport athlete. I really enjoyed doing the different sports, and I try to tell kids, and there's other ones who just really want to do wrestling all year round, and it's just their choice.
Yeah, and that was me going into my freshman year. I decided I wanted to go wrestle in college, and I wanted to, achieve some goals. So I met and the things that I did, and I can't forget today that I didn't reach those goals. But yeah, so you want. I like to see multi-sport athletes, and I think a lot of the colleges prefer.
Yeah, because it's almost well rounded. Like I have a nephew who's 15. He's a freshman in North Carolina. He's 6'2", 275 pounds. So of course he's gonna play football, and he's more of a football guy. And he got brought into wrestling 2 years ago to stay into shape for football, and really enjoyed it. I explained to him, as a bigger guy, what it would mean. He didn't get to do it last year, obviously, because of COVID. But he enjoys it and gets all the extra stuff done.
Yeah, and if he's going to be a ball player, the wrestling helps him tremendously whether it's the high school player or moving on to college, those two sports definitely complement each other.
Now, I will be, just so everybody knows, the one thing I've realized is sometimes you can't rely on school's Wi-Fi. So I will be getting a hotspot tomorrow for all future events. John readjusting his position here.
Jackson Bush's father is one that I spoke about earlier, who also wrestled at Del Val. And Nick and I are still really good friends. And Mark was a Del Val wrestler with probably one of the largest hearts that I've ever seen in a wrestler. The guy would just keep coming and keep coming. He was talented, but when it came to heart and fit, like, he had none of that. He won so many matches by 7 minutes. Yeah,
No matter what you do, it's almost, you want to call it the Rocky IV scenario, where no matter what you do, he's just right there, ready to go back.
absolutely, absolutely. So competitive when it came to that stuff. We once wrestled in a parking lot over an ice cream cone.
You give me that.
He ended up crying in the backseat of the car. So for tonight, and I told him I was going to rib him a little bit on the broadcast because he can't hear it, but we've got some other buddies listening to it. So. I don't think they're going to let up for anyone. So, coming in this school, I think Coach Fitz probably felt a little more than what we're seeing so far out of the rivalry. But like I said, Warren Hills is on a tear this year. They know the fire team that they have, and they're going to take advantage of it. So I don't think they're going to let up for anyone.
This is a team I know. Talking to the coach, he had said that he felt bad that the team aspect was canceled last year because they had a real shot of winning Group 3 last year, but they had a really good junior class return for a senior class. While we got a little break in the action, let's handle some business. Champion Athletes, Dan Warnerclough, Wrestler Nutrition. This is the man you want to go to. If you're an athlete, if you're a non-athlete, he will help you with meal plans. If you're better, put the best food in the fuel for your athlete. Champion Athletes. Oxford Auto and Tire, Route 31, 215, Washington, New Jersey, for all your auto and tire needs. UPWA Pro Wrestling, the fastest growing wrestling company on the East Coast. UPWA Pro Wrestling. And the Garden State HS Wrestling Podcast, Near Fall. New episodes every week during the season, available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple products, and more. Go check us out. I talk about everything wrestling. Some people like it, some people don't. I do what I need to do. We're back with the action. Maximus is up 2-0. We're going to get the restart here. More blood time here by Maximus. Leading 2-0 here, about midway through the first. Give our sponsors another plug. Champion Athletes, Dan Wernicott. The man who, if you wanted to talk to, as they're trying to stop the blood times, it almost seems like they're waiting for me to start doing a promo, and then they go cut blood time, so I look like an idiot as I'm trying to wrap them up. But there we go. But Dan Wernicott is the man you want to talk to if you want to eat healthy, feel better, athlete, non-athlete, in-state, out-of-state. Give him a call. Champion Athletes. He will help you get better. My own nephew, 15 years old, uses him for football and stuff in North Carolina. So Dan Wernicott is the man you want to talk to.
Nutrition's such a big part of sports, particularly wrestling. With the weight loss and controlling your nutrition is extremely important.
Fans are behind Max. There's always a couple of those kids on the team that are really pure.
Yeah.
You know that, especially there's always those kids that just scrap in the room and may not be out there a lot, but when they get out there and they get a chance, that student sections will support them.
Those are really root for, and you can't be a top team like this without having a really yeah, I think that was definitely a judgment call for the way.
He's going to try to do his best.
Coach Fitz and I were teammates for Team New Jersey way back before it was Fargo, but it was University of Northern Iowa in the Unidome. I reminded him of that today, that it was 32 years ago. So they didn't have to remind me of that.
So it's actually funny. He made sure when I was setting up, he came over and he goes, "Is Harry here yet?" He goes on his way. He's like, I know him. I want to come say hello. So you literally had a fan section. When they saw me set up, they're like, Harry. So looks like it might be an ankle injury. I thought maybe when Pagano was rolling through, I thought maybe he might have kicked him in the face, like just a little bit with his heel. But it looks like it seems to be they're focusing on his ankle right now.
Yeah, I think he turned his ankle as he posted.
Concern on Coach Fitz's face.
But what Andy was really concerned with when he came over to see me, he said, "Take it easy on us."
Dude, I have the utmost respect for both these.
Oh my gosh.
And these programs out here.
Yeah, I know that one of his papers, being one of them, and you yeah, of course, try to be as impartial as we can in a broadcast, but The faithfuls are definitely excited for Grisha leading this team and what he's been doing for years, and hopefully is sustained.
It's just one of those situations. Injuries or somebody like that, and you know, you hope it's a potential individual run in the states.
Right, and leading into the team tournament, it's unfortunate to see.
It's tough, especially for a team like Delaware, where you know have there's a good amount of kids, but not as much depth as they have. And
Right.
you kind of wonder if that'll affect them with having to shuffle their lineup and move around. Those are those things I think people don't see. They see a team like Delaware and think, oh, you got really good wrestlers in most spots, but you lose one of them now. You're trying to mix and match. You kind of get everything caught up, and you can put somebody out there that you're not expecting, and that's where things happen.
Hopefully we'll get some good time and rehab it and get back right back at it in a short period of time.
Yeah, he was having a real hard time putting some weight on. He's being looked at now, but he's got a little bit of issue standing up. He wanted to keep going, but his coach has stepped in and kind of said, yeah. Sometimes the heart's playing the brain a little bit.
Yeah. How are these two teams looking for returning for the next?
Warren Hills is a first in the I think Joey's the and then I love him. Just never turned it. Really some she came out there and I got hurt and they ended up going forward there.
And that's great coaching to next man up, coach them up and get them ready.
The one thing too I found funny about up here with everything going on as far as with COVID is I haven't seen too many teams be affected negatively where you think of Europe or kind of, it just shows how much people love wrestling and it's, especially the guys who thought, might not want to come back out because they were other sport athletes. They honestly almost seems like COVID made everybody miss these type of matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure the fans are loving it, being able to actually be here and, come out to the gym again and see it where, last year everything was very restrictive and I don't think a lot of teams I don't even think had fans in it. I think the thing I was speaking about how empty everything is the only two matches I covered last year was I went to Region 3 in Union because I do all the time when I work for the Star Ledger and Region 2 at Mount Olive because I went to Morris County for last year in Morris County and when I did that the referees would kind of sit there and coaches yelling. So jokingly, myself and before the whistle even blew, we got stoned. So matches like that, you feel like they have a nice smile on their face.
I think a rabid fan base can't sway a coach.
There's gyms around, so this is with this gym. This gym wasn't here when we were here. You know, the other gym was the new gym that they were building, which I think is now the library.
Right.
And that used to be the old gym. And it's just funny how stuff has been, you know, expanded here. I mean, I remember when I played football in Rolling Hills, we had to play on the middle school field, and we had to run on the horrible track down the hill that they found out was, I don't know if it was contaminated or it was something wrong with the ground, so they couldn't run.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard. And they built the city across the field.
They're watching this.
6-2 after 2.
Well, now looking to pick up their first win of the game meet. He's gonna be looking for bonus points here.
I think that's why they had Lundy start neutral. Maybe maybe he gets a takedown different, but he doesn't want to get a tilt here. That's why I thought Lundy was about to get hit because he was backing around. He was letting him push him around. I was just for the call.
The ground at the very minimum.
It's just something like if you work him. There's a land obviously when you're in the wrestling if you're trying to
Yeah, it should.
he's got to put forward because he's got to back it up.
The Delaware Levy takes one shot here and he's going to get nailed again. But he's not helping himself by just going ear to ear.
Lundy's got to try to do something to avoid it.
Yep.
He's like he's just getting backed around, pushed around here. It looks like it's about to come.
He's losing ground, and the Delaware wrestler would take one shot, he would be nailed again. A stalemate there. So clearly, once you're stopping the match to put them back into the same position. Simply.
I can handle the second fight. You know, I know some people, you know, hesitant to put something else strong, especially, you know, when it's potentially different between a major and, you know, I would say some of the into it. You know, you're gonna have to call it eventually, but anyway, as you get through, we'll see what Jarrett Lee can do. Nice defense, Braden.
Hang in there for Lee and get those feet back under him.
I mean, some great defense here by Snyder too. And he thought he had it was in there deep with the single and fight it off and almost get out of it.
Yeah, nice little flurry.
Really looking to try to break him down here, but Jared gets back up, or Braden gets up to his base. You almost want to see. You almost think Lee wants to just kind of end it here, get that pin, and put it out of reach. Only got a few bouts left with everything, so started at 190. So it's gonna have to be something there. Maybe Lee starts it away here.
I believe at one point at least, Jared was ranked, I believe, as high as 8th in the state.
Yeah, he was in that, and you can tell some of the as one of the writers from back then, and knowing what they do now, there's a lot of reactionary rankings and stuff because a lot of people tell you a little funny story. So last year, the way that everything with COVID went, people I cover Morris County and do that, and I don't do 100 traffic, but Morris was my main beat, and I did my yearly top 10 rankings at the end of the year for who I thought should go where. And late in the season, after they had done the cutoff for super regions, Madison beat Hanover Park and beat Mendham. And beat, I want to say the same amount. I didn't put them in my top 10, and I had parents calling and screaming at me. And I was like, and so I spoke with another reporter from the area for press, and he had put Madison in. And I go, I don't know why he did it. Well, they beat Hanover Park. I said, you also realize that it was after the cutoff where Hanover Park had to sit all their kids who were in super regions, including Joey Oliveri, this and that, and Madison only won by 4. So you're talking about easily a 24-point season for a lot of those kids that are in there.
Right.
That's what. Hanover Park and the still only lost by 3. So it's like you have to kind of see, people see the score and they're like, oh, you got there. No, there's other aspects to it.
Yeah, I know the Mount Olive and the North Hunterdon losses for Warren Hills this year. They had a couple guys out. At least one was out for COVID exposure. The 106-pounder. Now, I'm not saying that would have swung the match. Match or not. Who knows? But
North, you don't know. North was that was a kind of a surprise, like we were saying a little bit earlier. The Mount Olive match, I think Mount Olive was legit, and I think that was kind of like their way of coming up to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. And then they only got a loss at the Del Bart. Who's beating Del Bart?
Right.
Nobody.
Right. So it'll be interesting in the, what is it, group 4 or 5? What is Peaburg again?
Peaburg's in group 5.
5. So the Peaburg, Southern, how that works out, if with Southern being ranked so high, if Phillipsburg is able to knock them off, that absolutely helps Warren Hills ranking at the end of the year where they would finish. I have a vested interest in that. My college roommate and teammate, his son is a 126-pounder ranked in the state now at Southern, and longtime head coach of Southern, John Stout.
They used to be on my beat too. That was actually my very first. When I got out of college, I worked for NJ.com in their high school department. Bob Bear, who was running it, and Bruce Moran, my father has the same name. My father used to wrestle for Hanover Park in the 70s, and they knew who my father was. So they were, this guy knows wrestling because I got a York County, which never happens within 2 weeks. You usually have to wait years to get one. And it was Ocean Movement. So it was when it was, Scott Winston was there, and he was a part of that. So I would always travel down there, and I used to go to Southern at the time, especially for the SCT, down from Indiana over to Southern.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the family traditions, and Southern's first state champion was Brian Stout.
Yep.
Who then it's John's brother, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian's got one son that just graduated from HIT a year ago. Brian was number 2 in the state his junior year, number 1 his senior year.
Mm-hmm.
All 2 of their sons were number 2 in the state. Junior year state champions, their senior year, and their third and will be a state champ this year. So all 3 of them, just their dad, still runner-up. One's wrestling at Princeton now. Luke's now ranked in the top 15 in the state.
Nice pipeline in the country. I mean, this is
amazing job.
Honestly, wrestling in New Jersey is going up immensely, especially because, when I was younger, nobody really wanted to wrestle. I wasn't a fan.
Right.
Other people go other places, but now everybody wants to stay at Rutgers.
Good day, doing an amazing job. Directors, just truly amazing.
Just like, I mean, you used to have, they see, you know, it was always the obvious Penn State, those, you know, Oklahoma, stuff like that. Michigan, Minnesota, how to see it on the East Coast is amazing. I'm actually shocked he didn't get any points for that Florida.
Yeah,
He at least get one for that. This ref better watch it. The Delaware stock rules are sharper than a knife. They might shank him after the match.
yeah, the energy of some of the well, Ryder and Kingston and Rutgers, the energy of those coaching staffs, and the amount of how they do nationally now, it's just it's incredible.
And it's interesting too because when you look at it, so many of the guys who wrestle in this area are staying on the rifle.
You guys did the Jared Lee.
It might be. I get back into it, so maybe the Valley Division champions. Now, hopefully, it doesn't mean everybody starts tuning out. I mean, we still got a couple of matches left. Stick around.
Yeah, a couple of
Pretty good about it. I think this is a good start for Warren Hills as well. You know, they have an advantage up top, but it's gonna come on, you know, a nice start going.
Yeah, and that momentum is very important. We were talking about rivalry matches, as we saw in the Phillipsburg Warren Hills match. Exactly. You have to go your way. It's very hard to switch that momentum.
It's a lot better than the gym.
Yes.
You know, it's a little different, you know, like when you're out there, so you got trying to get your bearings about you, and it's kind of tough.
Good performance so far this evening, but they've got their sights set much higher than the league win.
It's always nice to have a little plaque on the wall, but you want to get that, you know, that big state recognition, and they have to be one of the favorites. They're right there. They should, you know, barring anything, they should win their two matches next week at home. And we do that. We've actually already been talking to Mike Jones, the athletic director. We're going to be in the sectional final from Warren Hills.
Oh, it's great.
So we'll be here with that. It looks like if anything goes the way it should, it looks like it'll be West Essex, if I have that correctly. I know they're going through the PowerPoints and they haven't decided yet. I think West Essex is on the other side. I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me. But I think that's what if I remember correctly. I looked at it really quick earlier, but I know Warren Hills has got some, you know, some firepower, and I think they should, you know, should go really well.
So I have a question. Maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. Since they waived the match minimum to qualify for the team states due to the storm and cancellations with COVID, and there was 10 matches that you needed to have 10 in-state duels. It's a scenario where returns for a stronger team are not as great as they would be if they had the additional matches in. Is the state using some common sense and going through some kind of methodology where they're not a team like Phillipsburg isn't wrestling you know, southern in the semi.
So I think we're trying to fix it with that. So, you know, so like, for example, with the section of it being a limited team, so it'd obviously be, you know,
Yeah.
no, but any sense, you know, there's so few, you know, very good teams that, you know, the one, you know, thing I was thinking about, you said the state and common sense. I never heard that being used when it comes to the NGSA and stuff, but it was a good call by them to doing what they did, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of, you know, weight factor involved. And listen, I look at people again, if they have to travel somewhere and they're like a 3 seed, I'd be scared for that home seed because I think they're one of those teams that can come out and, you know, they travel really well and wrestle. And, you know, you don't have to worry about conditioning. You know, with COVID and everything. Could be changed and, you know, kind of the wrestling right now. But try to do their best to make sure the top teams are at. Yeah, I know the early things I saw for other areas was, I'm not sure I was going to keep an eye on, but they've now switched it due to a head-to-head. Is Wyndham facing West Morris, which you know is obviously a rivalry match, but they switched, I guess, with the PowerPoints for a head-to-head with that West Morris had with somebody else. So now they're at 2 different locations. I think they're actually wrestling tonight.
They are.
Looking at my schedule.
Yeah, they are. And the only reason I know that is our 138 pounder Rizzuto is his father registered me. So he's one of my loan officers. And he was giving me a rundown today of the dual meet.
Is that in relation to the Great Wars? Because I'll tell you why. The reason I asked that, back when I was younger, the Twin Bowl football team in London.
Yes.
And he was on the team that still was sort of so it may be the same person actually because my brother was in his early 50s, so very old grandson. It's from American Premiers, correct?
So I just kept the deep asking. Yeah.
You know, and stuff.
So it was a quick escape and and here's that's what I was probably favorite of this match based on what I kind of see without very much.
These guys met each other in the women, but I think the first thing about Kurosawa that we had a family. Monster. Contest and Jared Taylor, my trainer who's at college, and after him of all the mistakes I'm making in life, and I'm sure. Because a couple of years ago, through the COVID, and it was, you know, so you guys, Canada. I'm massive progress, and I mentioned the thing, and you used to come over and get
mission. It was a takedown, quick turn there. Pretty aggressive tonight. Only a couple spots away.
You know, you almost wonder if that the way they set the tone against Phillipsburg kind of gave them that attack mentality, where they said, you know, we can't wait and kind of let things come to us. We got to set the pace. I know we're talking to a lot of people. I think that's what they felt happened with North. North kind of got a couple calls, you know, ended up taking advantage, and they were kind of wrestling from behind. So I don't think they want to do that again,
Right.
especially heading into the meat of their schedule, heading into sectionals, where you can't do that against those type of teams.
Well, you'd never have a chance against Phillipsburg if you don't pounce. That's for sure.
We did the HWS of Phillipsburg. Beautiful new gym. The candle to the pit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know I used to be there, but it's a beautiful pit. It's very nice. But that pit was like right there with some of the best wrestling facilities in the area.
Yeah, there's not many venues in the country that rival that atmosphere.
The only other one I can remember is another pit we used to wrestle in at Mount Olive. And it had the stairs, it had the little drop down, and it was pit. And they wound up turning it. I think it's in their own music recording area because they've given them a brand new facility at Mount Olive. It's a beautiful facility.
Well, I know the pit certainly was the most hostile environment to go into and try to win a match. That's for sure.
Because they were right on top of you. And I tell the people about that, they don't understand that. So one of the very first matches that I blogged when I started my site was I wound up going up for Del Barton when they went up to the pit the first time. And their kids have wrestled everywhere. And they were just like shell shocked.
Yeah.
I just told them, I said, it's a whole different ballgame. You know, it's just one, that's the ultimate home field advantage.
Oh yeah. And you don't know it until you experience it.
The one I loved there was the hard rolls. The Tellerham on the hard roll. Where's Tellerham? I don't want to hit pork roll. Get out of there, people. If you got pork roll, get out of the state. Two things. It's Tellerham, and there's no such thing as Central Jersey. That all the angry tweets committed.
They still did this when you were wrestling at Phillipsburg in the pit, but when I was, we had to walk up the bell tower to get in.
Yes.
It's all about intimidation as a freshman walking in there, walking up the bell tower stairs. You're walking to the little room. It's a bell tower, and so I knew what the outcome was going to be. I was going to.
Some of the scariest gyms, the most intimidating gyms, and I said the pit, and then honestly, one that threw me, and it wasn't so much the gym, it was the ride up there was the very first time I ever wrestled like K10. Okay, and coming from here, you wind up going the back way, and then you wind up going to KT. It's those one-lane bridges in the dark, and I'm like, and I'm from East Hanover. Like, what the hell are we at? It was just kind of like, what? But then we went in there, and it was just kind of, it was that was like the ultimate intimidation. I joke now with Coach Gill when I go up there. I said, why don't you guys do something when you get those teams coming for a big match, especially a night like that? Why don't you have like your JV go out by the bridge and
They had wrestled at Kinney City twice, and it was one of my most successful places to wrestle. a freshman and a junior. So I didn't mind it very much.
And you talk about Pittini. I mean, can you believe Coach Gill's still there?
Phenomenal.
He's coaching. I'm sure he's coached grandparents.
Yeah,
Sons and grandsons, and now some even granddaughters.
right. He's got the Dowling boys on the team now.
He had the Mafaros for a little bit. I know he had Jackson Taylor, in Pennsylvania. I mean, they've done a really good run, guys.
Yeah, I've got some good memories of wrestling Kittatinny, and I've got some bad memories. They're all the same kid.
That was the one thing too. I know you. I noticed with everything, but just the way they agreed on regions. I really wish the region one that worked so bad. You have all those guys, and you have everybody with region one. But the one thing I miss, especially with as we're going into the upcoming districts and regions, is I know why they realigned them. I understand that, but that Wallkill Valley region, even though it was only 2 mats, you saw everybody, and you saw everybody.
Yeah.
When you were there. Matter of fact, funny story. When I first started the website, kind of did a "Where Are They Now" piece on a couple guys you hadn't heard from, state champions, and one of the ones I did was David Hughes. So I finally tracked him down from Jefferson. For you don't know, some of those great Jefferson teams in the early '90s. So I track him down and I find out he's living in Atlanta. I reach out, talk to him, and he's like, I don't even follow the sport anymore. I kind of, I have daughters and stuff. But he's like, I'm working with somebody in training. We did an interview. He says to me, question? I go, yeah. He said,
My teammate at Wilkes, who's now the head coach of Wilkes, who is essentially extremely excited. To Wilkes.
I'm saying, I think she's such I know people are like, who is her? I said, we had done it. It was just one of those interesting moments that you have. I think I completely forgot the story I was telling.
He was coaching the daughters.
Oh, actually, so he was in an interview, and he asked me. He goes, "Can I ask you a question?" I go, "What?" He goes, "You go to Region 1, right?" I go, "Yeah." I go up there. Are those guys in the overalls from Warren Hill still there? I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Anyway, every match." He goes, "You and that's why I think, especially the regions and districts, yes, those areas where they go and just enjoying it.
Interesting story here about Owen Fizzle. His next door neighbor is Amy Fitz. Owen was and here we are a few years later, and it's coming back to haunt him. But that's the. Donald, tonight.
Well, it's not over yet because we're gonna get some action with one of these coaches. We're gonna see if we can get Coach DeBriscia to come in here and talk a little bit about his win here and see what we can do. Just some business real quick. Champion athletes. Dan Wernicke, champion athletes. The name you want to go to, if you want to athletes.
Over here. That They're never gonna win, but it's that bad.
Right?
I didn't think it was gonna be that bad.
Not gonna get.
Hey,
Today's team right now, they'd be able to top 10. Yeah, they'll finish in the top 10. You're gonna put it down.
Horrible. Oxford, Idaho. 215 Route 31 South, Washington, New Jersey. 908-689-6882 for all your automotive needs. UPWA Pro Wrestling, the fastest growing wrestling company on the East Coast. For all your pro wrestling fun, the UPWA.com. And GardenStateHSWrestling.com, Nearfall, the wrestling podcast. New episodes every week during the season. Available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
It's up now. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it 7 Hey, all I can say is
We're going to be joined here by Coach Brisha in a few minutes.
there's been no selection.
Big run down here by Warren Hills. Great matchup, great win for them.
Sitting there watching like. But the one thing I fucking heard about him, like
Had technical issues with
right there.
until we figured them out. Yeah, Coach Brisha as we speak.
No, the drop.
Have to climb out.
How'd you do?
He did well, very well.
Did he tell you I recommended it?
no, but I appreciate it. It was fun. I definitely got the bunch of folks who
Join in, we're on.
I didn't embarrass myself to tune in.
Congratulations on the win. Got out to a fast start. Just kind of talk about that and this squad as a whole, just how they started this match.
I think we're peaking at the right time. You know, a lot of these matches, they're big matches from either 100 early in the year, John Bulls, like an entirely different team. Stage, obviously, so you know, we had some rematches with Galka. You know, obviously didn't go on the early match. Couple of sixes in the rematch was a very similar result, and actually, you know, Cody Miller toward the end, that was a rematch from last season. We had him a tough loss, and so that made some adjustments.
Now, this was an interesting matchup with the crowd, because I know you've been online wanting to get people involved in the community. The video in the beginning, how has this community embraced this squad? You just guys have been on a great run, and just how they embraced you.
And I think Warren Hills, Washington is always been progressive. You know, that's the number one. That's what I care about. You know, a lot of these kids have been watching, obviously, wrestling since they were 5, 6 years old. Right. And, you know, there's a lot of tradition that goes back, but, you know, the last time we won a state title was 30 years ago. These kids were alive. So, you know, at the end of the day, they have to create their own tradition. And I think they're kind of doing that. And town's really getting a lot of things. It's amazing. We're doing an amazing job, and I guess we. My buddy. Okay.
time to absolutely get that put together. But wrestling wise, it seems that people have a great time. Is there something special that you do? Don't give away the secret sauce. But is there something?
I think it's just physicality. You need to be a physical bunch, and that stress to these guys is wrestling 6 minutes. Regardless of, we say, listen, you're gonna wrestle 6 minutes unless you want to stop it. That's our motto. So
I never wanted to wrestle 6 minutes because Jim Reynolds would be like, we need good 6 minutes from me. I'm like, I'm fat. I get 2.5 and I'm going to lay there. So I tried to end it early too, either one way or the other.
I mean that. So
No, that's what it was either me or so it was one way or the other. Now I know last year with the cancellation of team, it was it was rough for you guys because you guys had a real good shot. You guys are peaking. You're checking stuff off the list. You're beating P-Burn. You win a conference title. You're actually going to be hosting the sectionals, the revamp they do it next week. Talk about this team and just kind of your chances heading in that, because I know talking to you before the season, you said state championship is on your mind. Everything.
these kids haven't forgotten. And West Essex, the 2 seed, they beat us by 3. I think it was 2 years ago. Most of these kids were sophomores. That's something that's playing in their head. So obviously, they want a rematch there, but they're going to have to do the things to get there. So, and we're going to look at one match at a time. We got a really tough Livingston team to finish out our regular season here tomorrow. We hope, have a simple result, honestly, and wrestle really, really tough. And, see where it goes. That's what we're going to do. Worry about Monday when Monday comes.
I have one last question. So, how do you handle this? I was in
We talked a little bit before that match, and we said, listen, and I even told the kids, sometimes I don't give, a speech ahead of time, but I said, listen, you guys are getting the same speech regardless if we win or lose. You understand it, right? We're going to wrestle Pittsburgh. We're going to go out there. We're going to pound them. We're going to win. But if everything went wrong, that wasn't our end. You're going to have to pick it up, and you're going to go out there. You're going to try to finger threes. So at the end of the day, beating Phillipsburg obviously was a huge accomplishment, a huge goal, but it was going to be the same speech. Hey, you get another match next month. So, and I think these kids kind of bought into it. They obviously, you had the celebration of off that Saturday and Sunday. And that was nice. The high, but then come back down. Be level-headed, and the confidence just kind of started flowing in.
so much coaching is psychology, and it's clear to me just basically based on and that's psychology.
Absolutely.
Keeping it positive and
That Phillipsburg win actually made it interesting for the New Jersey Wrestling Writers Association. We had the interesting triangle where they beat Phillipsburg, but North, so it was just very, so we kind of decided, because we had a lot of the writers who have been around for years hadn't seen Phillipsburg manhandled like that. So that's why they went up. So it was very good.
I'll be running.
Hopefully we'll see you next Wednesday in the sectional finals. We
Appreciate it,
will
guys.
be on the Garden State HSWrestling.com podcast. But do some business, Barry. I want to thank you so much. I know it was a pleasure. We talked about it. Warren Hills seems to be back. I mean, it's not like it ever left. But now, we know they were always good, but now when you get to that next level, they're back at that level that, those are the really good teams. Those are the really solid ones. We got the popular Barry Van guy. Everybody's saying goodbye. He's going. They're like, oh, we remember you. He's here all the time, but they're saying goodbye. But it's nice to see them on that and giving it a run for, a state title. So it's something that hopefully I'll be here next week on Wednesday covering the sectional final. Hopefully if they make it. So, hope that'll be our next broadcast. I'm hoping, and you always want to root for, the alma mater, where we're at, even though we're in a new place. We didn't, this was a field back when we were here. I think this might have been part, I'm pretty sure it's like a backfield, but, do a little business, before we head out, but thank you so much.
thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.
No problem. Thank you. Champion athletes. Dan Wernickoff and his team will help you get better. If you're an athlete, non-athlete, in-state, out-of-state, Dan Wernickoff will help you with nutrition. Give him a call today. Dan Wernickoff. Oxford Auto and Tire, 215 Route 31 South, Washington, New Jersey. Give them a call for all your automotive needs. UPWA Pro Wrestling, the fastest growing pro wrestling company in the East Coast. If you want us to come to your town, give UPWA a call. They will help you reach your fundraising needs. and the GuardiansAHSWrestling.com podcast, Nearfall. New episodes every week during the season, available on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. For Barry Van Scoten, I'm Donald J. Brower. We will see you next time.